Welcome back to the Natural Ones podcast, everybody. It's me, Zektown, and tonight we have a special treat. Well, today, whenever you're listening to this, it's a special treat. Aiden and Jerry were unable to make it. They had actual real-life important things to prepare for, which is awesome. So tonight, I planned a little D&D duet thing for Pat and I. It's a little bit of like a backstory dive, which is pretty cool. So I think that, Pat, you're going to have fun diving into your own backstory a little bit and being able to, bring forward a little bit more of who Gris is. And for me, it'll be really fun to see how I can incorporate more of your backstory and potentially drop little story flavored nuggets into this little session.
Mm-hmm. Well, everyone knows the rogue always has the most interesting and dark backstory, so it's always fun to kind of get into that a little bit.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Dark and mysterious backstories. All rogues are like that. You know?
Like
I was born on the streets and had to fight and kill just to eat every night.
Every rogue's backstory is essentially the Rick and Morty episode of Pickle Rick. It's like... But yeah, so we're gonna see how this goes. I've never really done a one-on-one type thing before, so...
Yeah, me either. I'm excited.
It'll be cool. So, Gris, while traveling for days from Gallus to meet with Shalou outside of Treespire, you spent one long evening with Aang telling stories from before you were traveling together. You mentioned that you're from Grommel, surprising Aang. He asks you what that land is like, and you tell him details of the landscapes, the cities, the food. That is certainly one thing you miss the most about Grommel. The night slips by, and you watch as the last flames shrink away to nothing, leaving a small pit of coals keeping the three of you warm. Hugh, who was passed out since finishing second dinner, and Aang, rolling over just now, turning in with you, you all try to get some shut-eye on this calm night, laying on your bedrolls. You slowly fall asleep, watching several shooting stars first pass over the night sky. So, Gris, years ago, it seemed like a different lifetime when you were last in Grommel. You see your old haunts. You walk down the center street of Halcyon, and when you did so, people stepped out of your way. Some even bowed. There certainly seemed to be perks to working for the Thiakos family. Am I saying that right?
Yes.
Awesome. Today was no different from any other. You strutted your way to the Thiakos compound and entered under the wide stone archway opening to a large quad. 3 separate buildings made up the compound, 2 buildings for the family members and visitors, and 1 building for resident employees and the records office for the family business. The buildings were made of redwood, naturally glowing in the sunlight. White plaster covered the outsides of each building, smooth and cool to the touch. Each one had 2 chimneys, lazily letting smoke circle over terracotta shingles. In the grass-covered quad, several trees provided shade and beautiful orange flowers. In the center of the area was a pond full of carp with a small wooden bridge connecting the entrance to the family home. Gris, you were recently asked to come see Consul Thiakos about some work.
All right. So I'm in this compound and I'm looking around. And do I see anyone who looks familiar who I need to speak to?
No, actually, it's pretty empty. You don't really see anybody. Maybe because it's a dream. That's not really what your subconscious is telling you to do. But you do walk by the small pond and see the fish swimming on some invisible path that remains unseen.
Okay. I suppose I'll go. I would think that the record-keeping office is probably where I would find Consul Thiakos.
Yeah, I think that's a solid bet. So you start walking over towards that building, and in the dream, you're kind of transported from outside of the large family home into a library. Books lining the walls, whiskey and cigar fumes filling the air. It's a familiar room. It's where you got your first job. It's where you went when your adoptive father passed away. You spent a number of years with this family, and they've been really good to you. All they ask is you do a couple things for them.
Mm-hmm.
You see 2 large leather chairs facing a desk with another chair on the other side facing the opposite window behind the desk. And you walk over to one of these leather chairs and sit down. You wait a couple seconds, and after a couple moments of silence, the chair spins around, and an old, silver-haired man looks at you. He has pale skin, and familiar to you, of course, are the 2 small, nub-like horns protruding from his forehead.
Mm-hmm.
He's a tiefling like you, just like most of the family. Gris, I need you to paint the walls of the Aristesios home. All the rooms, even the kids' room.
You know how I feel about children. Is that really necessary?
That Aristesios slime ball blocked crucial goods from leaving this city. A lot of our family has been affected. This needs to be a message, Gris. We decide what gets exported to the other cities. And our distant family in those cities expect us to come through for them. We don't want to let them down, right?
Of course not. Family is most important in this world. I understand that.
You look stressed. Here, have some whiskey. He pours you a glass from a decanter.
I'm gonna swirl it around and take a nice sniff of it and sip. Thank you.
You're gonna find the house off outside of the city. It's about an hour's ride on horse. Do you need one? We can get you one.
Yes. I think using my own horse for this might not be advantageous to me being stealthy. So yeah, I'll take one of those horses. Sure. Thank you.
Good. Make sure it's a message. That's important.
I understand. Anything else?
Well, you tell me. Your last job, I couldn't believe it how fast you got it done.
Well,
Is there anything else you need from me? I mean...
Listen, I've been thinking a lot about my role here in this family and the way we do business. And I understand we all need to make a living and keep our family alive. I fear the cost of our business. I've been struggling with that myself.
Gris, why didn't you tell me? He puts his arm around you. The smell of cigars clings to your leather armor. This isn't just making a living. This is our way of life. You know that. You knew that. I mean, you work hard, don't you?
I do. I remember the lessons of my father, Damokos. I remember. Some of the things we do, it's just
necessary. It's necessary.
I know the way of our people, and I'm willing to do what is necessary.
Gris, some families move in the shadows. Other families turn themselves into kings. Our family looks out for each other. Don't forget that.
I won't. Thank you.
And the dream again fades, and all of a sudden, you find yourself outside of the Aristesios home. Rain falling steadily.
Okay, I'd like to approach it, and I feel like Gris would want to case the home before entering. Want to see what he's up against.
Okay. So in front of you, you see a very large building. As large as the Theakos compound was. Imagine in front of you, instead of just one large building where the family lives, you have double that. So as we start to come into this next scene, you're outside of the Aristestio's home, rain is falling steadily. The home is built in a similar style, actually, to what the Theakos homes look like. It's a single-floor building sprawling in front of you with a terracotta roof.
Are there full-length windows there?
There are some. They're not full-length windows, but there are plenty of windows nonetheless.
And how many doors outside? Is there just one door to exit and enter, or are there more than one?
As you make your way around the house, you find that this is a very private abode. It seems that it's almost completely hidden in the surrounding forest. But as you kind of case the place, you find that there are, 4, 5, maybe even 6 windows that look promising, as well as one main entryway at the south-facing side of the home.
Okay. I think if Gris could find a window that he could open, he would find a window to open first, but then he'd go back to the door and take the shim he keeps in his pouch and just shim the door so that it couldn't be opened, and then head back to the window.
Okay. So as you approach the western side of the house, you look through the first window directly in front of you, and this is kind of what you see. You see a kitchen. You see 2 tables. It looks like one table, a smaller round table, and another, a very long 12-person dining room table. You see a bearskin on the floor, and you also see a number of pots and pans freshly cleaned from use. And on the northern wall of this room, you actually see 2 bronze dog statues, as well as an altar in front of another window.
Okay. Can I see what's on the altar there?
Sure. On the altar itself, you notice that there are several long bone-pointed quills with several pieces of parchment. It looks like someone had been either journaling or contemplating some philosophical thought. You also see a small cup full of oil and another cup on the other side of the altar with wine.
Do I see anyone in there? Can I sense any motion inside the building?
The inside of the building is relatively dark.
Okay.
As your eyes adjust, you get the picture that everyone's asleep for the night.
Okay. If that's the case, I think I'd like to try to enter through the window. Like I said, after shimming that southern door so that it couldn't be opened outward, I think I'd want to try to get in through one of the windows if I can find one that's unlocked.
Okay. So as you return to this first window that you peered through on the western side of the house, you try to start gently lifting it up and notice that it's locked. About 10 feet to your left, you see another window. And why don't you make an investigation check for me? Or even a sleight of hand, whatever is a higher roll.
Yeah, so we'll do sleight of hand. That's a 15.
Okay, so with a 15, definitely can tell that this window is also locked, but you notice that the lock is old, and you are able to see a little bit of a crack through the window. You take some of your lock picks, and you kind of run it underneath, maybe wedging one of your daggers underneath the latch, popping the lock open. Can you actually describe these daggers for me? They're pretty special to you, right?
They are, yes. They were left to me by my father, and I often, when I'm doing my business, they are my primary weapon, and they're twin daggers. They have black leather handles, and the pommels are very simple silver, and the blades are edged on both sides. They're about 10 inches long, and they're both the pommels and handles and are all very simple. The guards are all very simple, but the blades themselves are heavily etched with different kind of different designs all down the blade from the hilt to the tip on both sides of the blades. They look very they're very distinct. You know, you'd see them and you know what they were, but they're also extremely functional.
Excellent. So you take one of these intricate daggers and pop the window open slowly as to not make a sound and enter what looks to be the common room of the Aristestios home.
All right, I'd like to I think I'd like to further investigate the shrine there and get a better look at if there's anything that's being written there or anything anything I can glean from the shrine itself, any information about the family. I'd like to look at that.
You see that there are actually on the windowsill behind this altar, there are several hand-drawn portraits of an older man and an older woman, as well as in the picture with the older woman, you see the older woman holding a baby wrapped in a blanket.
Okay. All right. And anything else? Any writings or anything I need to know about?
No, in the dream, when you look at the writing, it kind of blurs out. Again, dreams are weird. The house itself does not even have a candle burning. It's pretty dark, and your dark vision's coming in handy here as you sneak around.
I think I'd like to go south through the kitchen area to the southern wall and see what's down there.
Okay. There are several pots that were recently cleaned. You can see even a dish towel hanging off of one of them still. There's a couple sacks and containers of what look like rice and flour. Okay. Maybe some barley. Nothing too fishy. It's just your average kitchen.
Okay. Let's see. Can I proceed? Is there anything else further south from there?
No, that's a wall. So that's where that kind of L shape of the room. This is the deeper inset portion that's about 15 feet from the wall to the main interior of the home. You do see though that the door on the southern wall next to the bear skin rug is slightly ajar.
All right, I'd like to take a look. I don't want to make myself known being there, of course, but I'd like to see if I can see what's inside that room without moving the door at all.
So without moving the door, you can you're able to see the window from the eastern side of the building that you saw on the outside.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't look in through that window at all, but you did take note that it was there. You can assume then that the door that you jammed earlier would be down even further south from that room. Again, this is another L-shaped room from what you can tell. You notice that there's a wall next to the main entryway that you would gather. The door actually slowly creaks open with like that really awkward horror movie kind of thing. And as the door opens up, you're able to see almost everything now in the room, including a very gorgeous ornamental rug and two doors.
Like they're like double doors together?
No, they're like two individual doors.
Okay.
For two separate rooms.
Okay. I'll open the one immediately across from me that I believe is attached to the front door there. So this one here.
Okay. You can see as you approach that door that the wall that this door is attached to extends about 25 feet to your right, and you might actually even assume that this is a completely separate room.
Okay. But
as you slowly attempt to open the door, it actually swings wide open. In it, you see a small child, maybe 10 or 11 years old, sleeping in a twin-sized bed, a bookshelf directly to his right, and a chest that you would assume is full of toys and other childhood tools that 11-year-old could get into trouble with. Mm-hmm. And there's also a desk with a green cloth wooden chair and another window that you had noticed on the southern side of the building.
All right. I'm gonna pull the door, not all the way closed, but leave it slightly ajar, and move on to the next door, adjacent from that.
Okay. And as you come into this room, your heart starts pumping. A constant drumming sound building in your chest. It's almost like your heart's like in the back of your throat right now. You can feel it. You make your way into this room, another rectangular room about 30 by 15. The wall closest to the door covered in bookshelves, full of books. You don't recognize any of the names on them. Most of them are actually blank. Mm-hmm. And you also see a desk with a couple chairs, a small chest in the opposite corner, and on the far side of the room, farthest away from the door that you came in, a king-sized bed, a man and a woman sleeping.
All right. I enter the room, and I'm going to approach the bed. I've kind of already mapped this out in my head as to what I need to do. So I go to the left side of the bed first, or I guess from above the right side, but yeah.
You're going to come over to
kind of the far side here.
The far side.
The far side first, yep.
So you make your way to the far side of the bed, slowly walking over the stone floor. Lucky for you, it is a stone floor, so it doesn't make a peep as you slide across. There he is, the head of the Aristesios family, the man who caused your family so much grief.
All right, I'm gonna it's him and his wife in the bed, correct?
Correct.
Okay. I'm going to approach the bed, and I'm gonna start talking to myself. And as I grab my daggers from my father, I'm gonna start praying to my God, to Sif, and I'm going to cover the man's mouth and just plunge my dagger up from underneath his chin up into his skull in one quick motion.
Ooh, blood pools all over the bed as you do this. Some spraying the backboard of the bed itself and onto the wall. The woman in the bed is still asleep, as Aristesios didn't even know what happened when he died.
And then I'll walk to the other side of the bed, and the same thing with the woman. Just like, this is very, for Gris, this is very businesslike. This is like this is like working in a slaughterhouse. It's not personal, it's not emotional, it's just his job. He does the same thing to the wife.
Ooh. And with one quick swish of the blade, the deeds were done. Both of them lay there, pooling blood now dripping onto the floor. The soft patter of droplets filling your ears in the silent home. You make your way out of the room, businesslike, with purpose, and head back into the child's room.
So, again, I think Gris strides up. He's kind of trying to avoid stepping on the toys that every child has strewn about their rooms.
Yeah, I mean, this is like the most defensive room you've come across in quite some time, unintentionally.
Yeah, this is like a level 20 trapped room right now.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
So Gris, knowing that this is probably the last part of his job in this home, he's sort of ambles up, again, stepping over these toys and whatnot, and ambles up to the boy's bed, and I think he looks down on this boy. He's like maybe 11 years old, 10 or 11 years old, and he starts praying to Sif again, and he pulls his father's dagger again, and covers the boy's mouth gently, and holds the tip up just underneath his jaw, and
as you're about to drop one last cut And this wasn't going to be a violent cut. This was a merciful cut.
Mm-hmm.
Your hand slightly shaking underneath the jaw of this child, when suddenly a voice appears. A voice can be heard in your head. Gris, you cannot do this.
And I think right now Gris realizes that he's just crying. Like, he's not like out, like you can't hear him crying, but he just has tears just like welling out of both of his eyes. And he's struggling just to maintain his breath and his calm, because he knows he can't do this. And he's praying to his God that to give him a steady hand to do this job, and he can't do it.
Take the boy. Take him with you. He is going to live with so much pain already. Do not let him see it.
This boy isn't safe here. My family will hunt him down. It won't be me, but someone will come for him. He's not safe here.
Head west. Go to the mountains. When you reach the top after 4 days, you will find a monastery. It is south of a city you will know soon as Orthun. Take this boy across this sea. There are monks who still believe in me, in this.
Okay. I will do as you say, but I can't do this anymore for my family. I'm finishing this job. I'm saving this child, and I'm leaving here.
I know. That is why I tell you to go west.
I think Gris is going to before he disturbs the child, he's going to go back to the shrine to grab the picture of the mother and the boy. He's going to pocket that, and then he's going to pick up the boy, trying not to wake him, and to walk him out of the house.
Your memory of this night fades to black, and all of a sudden now, in your dream, you're getting off of a boat. Soon after that, your dream fast forwards you, moments later, to the top of a mountain in a foreign land that you had never been to before. You asked around. The boy, now not speaking to you, understands that he would never have been able to stay in Grommel, but hates you for everything that you've done. You walk for what seems like a lifetime in this dream, but eventually you come to the foot of a large monastery after crossing a long, ancient, rickety wooden bridge. There's 2 torches keeping the main entrance to this monastery lit. So the sun is about to go down. It's becoming twilight, and a dragonborn monk in what appear to be traditional, very intricately patterned and sewn clothes. There's swirls and interlocking lines in this design. You can tell that there obviously isn't much to do up here, so attention to detail is probably a very strong part of the curriculum at this monastery. But this dragonborn is standing at the entrance, gazing upon you as you make your way to him.
Good evening, friend. I'm looking for, I suppose, the home of Sif.
This is the home. How? Where did you come from?
Well, it's been a long journey here, and I am unable to stay. I feel unworthy of being in your temple, but I have a child with me who needs the guidance and protection of your people, of our people, of Sif.
The old dragonborn, looks at the child and, looks at him head to toe, kind of inspects him to see, what's going on here. Why is there some tiefling dropping off a child, like a human child, at this monastery, and the Dragonborn says to you,
You know, usually, he, under most circumstances, would be too old to enter. But I have spoken with Sif. The gods are returning, tiefling. And Sif told me that there would be a tiefling bringing... How did she put it? His misfortune to this monastery. And I was to accept anything he gave me.
That's an interesting phrasing. Sif does have a way with words. I would consider myself this child's misfortune, but I am here, and I need you to protect this child. He's seeking refuge inside your monastery. I need your word that you will look after him. Teach him how to be a man. Teach him honor and courage and how to be righteous. I cannot teach him these things, and I fear I have robbed him of anyone who would be able to.
It will be a hard life, a solitary life, but he will learn, and he will know the words of Sif.
Thank you. And I want to kind of not push, but guide him towards the Dragonborn.
He actually, as he's hearing everything being discussed, it's like, I'm standing right here. He looks at you with, well, the same hatred that he's had since getting on that forsaken boat and crossing the sea. You may be my misfortune, but the old man is right. Your misfortune is having to live with it. And I want you to look at me. Look at me right now. Remember this face and what you did.
I think Gris is just going to... I think he's still very, this has torn him up. He knows he's leaving behind the world he knew, and he's going to drop to a knee, and he's going to remove the picture from inside his breast pocket, and he's going to place it in the hand of the child, and he's going to say, "You boy, you have every right to hate me, and I promise you, when you're a man, you come find me. You come find me and remind me, and I'll tell you what I've done to balance the scales. And if it isn't enough, then you can do as you see fit." And I'm going to stand up, and I'm going to wait for him to walk into the monastery.
Tears are welling up in his eyes, angry, bitter tears falling and rolling down the sides of his face. He grasps onto the picture and the daggers, pulls them close to his chest, almost as if he was remembering his mother's embrace when he held that picture. I will find you. I will. And the old Dragonborn puts his hand on the child's shoulder, and they both turn around, walk into the monastery, the door closing behind them. With a final thud, as the door thuds, your dream fades to black again, and now you're in the same mountains again, but not, the same. They look like they're the same mountains. They're not necessarily the same mountains or anything like that, but with like the picture that I have on the screen, it's like that kind of scenery, maybe a little bit more snow. Maybe you're still at the tree line. There's some trees. And this isn't a memory that you've ever had before. But you look down and your hands are balled up into fists, holding on to this large... And you thought that Remulus was a big snow wolf. This is a wolf 3 times that size. This would be like an enormous creature. And it's sprinting through this forest, this mountainous terrain at full speed, and you're holding on for dear life. This goes on for several minutes, and it feels like hours. All of a sudden, the wolf stops, and you slide off to the side. In your head, a voice rings out. The boy is coming of age, Gris, and the scales are being put out to take your measurement. And with that, you wake up in the middle of the night, a cold sweat running down your face and your back, all over you. You're covered in sweat. It is like you just ran a few miles.
Mm-hmm.
The fire still out, the coals twinkling in the last remnants of flame leaving them, and it's another night with your friends, another night with Aang and Hugh and Scarl and Remulus, and you're so thankful that you've done so much to help others since leaving that monastery. But now the overwhelming fear of what that wolf said to you stays in your mind.
And I think Gris just says to himself, the scales. The scales. And I think he just lays back down, and I don't think he sleeps. I think he just lays there with his eyes open and stares into the night. And he knows what's coming.
Yep. And that's it. That's your little one-shot for tonight.
That was excellent.
Awesome.
I feel like we told a lot of his... I've told, a good chunk of his story.
Yeah, I mean, I think it definitely got you to the Roselands, which was an important thing that you really haven't talked about before.
Right. Yeah, I know it's come up a few times, but I've always sidestepped it.
Yeah.
I don't think Gris wants to really admit why he left. Was Faerun? I'm trying to remember the geography of the world, but
so basically, there is where it's like there's the Roselands,
mm-hmm.
which is like the giant continent that you guys have been going across,
mm-hmm.
and then there's like a shallow, I guess it's shallow, but it's like a narrow sea, and then there's this other large sprawling continent that would be kind of like the size of Europe and Asia.
Mm-hmm.
And you're from this area on the western side of that continent, the kingdom of Grommel.
Right.
Now, and on that continent itself, there's multiple kingdoms as compared to the Roselands, which
mm-hmm.
is its own like Australia type self-contained thing. So that's kind of how the geography lies. It's so the world itself actually isn't like connected to Faerun or the Sword Coast,
Gotcha,
or anything like that.
Okay.
Yeah, I kind of did that on purpose.
Yeah, no, that's fine. It's wonderful.
I know, like we kind of had like placeholders in when we started the campaign.
Exactly. Yeah. Yep.
So like that's why I'm trying to like I've been coming up with names. Like I came up with that Grommel like a while ago because it's in like the players packet as like the Great War was also known as the Last Gromlin War.
Yep. Yeah.
That
was intense, man. Whew.
Yeah, that was heavy. I like wanted to end it with like, and you wake up and you hear Hugh let out like this huge fart.
That's, I mean, if Jerry was here, that's what would happen for sure.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's yeah, that was excellent.
That was cool. I thought it needed to like be explored a little bit. Like,
yeah,
I kind of wanted to do flashback type things, but
mm-hmm.
I didn't want it to take up time when we're all together.
That's a tough thing. Yeah.
So this was like a great opportunity to actually, we got to fill out your, like the listeners get to feel out your character a little bit. They get to see where Gris is coming from, and now how they just have like a better idea of who you're playing.
Nice. Love it. That was great. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. That was awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Ooh, heavy stuff.
Yeah, did I do it justice?
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. That's pretty much
Cool.
exactly as I imagined it. Even better, honestly.
I like kind of like envisioned this place like almost like with the whole idea of it being like organized crime yakuza stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I tried to like cross that a little bit with like the Italian mob, and then with what you had come up in your backstory of the names, I was like, oh, but these names sound so Greek. I have to keep this going.
Yeah.
And I hope you caught the little nod to your character's name, Gristlebrand, with Halcyon.
Yeah. That was excellent.
So now we also know that in this world there's another continent called Grommel.
Yep. Is that Grommel?
Yeah.
Okay.
And also, you're originally from a city called Halcyon,
Yep.
which is presumably near the coast of that continent.
Okay. Halcyon. Just that way I can update my... Because I keep a sheet, too, of my backstory.
Okay, cool.
So I like to just so I can have... because, I don't want to have any continuity errors or anything like that, so...
Yeah.
But, yeah, that was perfect. That was excellent.
Awesome.
Great. That was great. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you wanted to discuss?
No, that was awesome.
Cool.
Yeah, I like to do a little bit more of the what's the word for it? More gritty. I mean, not that I like to do, but I enjoy delving into kind of the grittier, darker side of the game. But I also really enjoy like the very lighthearted stuff that Jerry gets into.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? So I never want to railroad it into being, too dark and mysterious, but I think something like this is a perfect like shot of, kind of the I want to sound too silly and call it gravity, but like just sort of the, the grounding of the character, of the grounding of Gris,
Yeah, no, I totally get it.
I don't want him to be a cartoon character, so to speak. I want him to have a little more of a, like I said, a fleshed out, understandable background.
Yeah, like I try to write the stuff like it's going to be the Dark Knight. Mm-hmm. And then I expect Jerry to turn it into like the Suicide Squad.
See, yeah, I see it more as like you write the Dark Knight and then Jerry turns it into the Batman of oh god, what's his name? They're like the 60s television series.
Adam West.
Whatever. Adam Batman. Like some days you just can't get rid of a bomb Batman. Yeah, that guy. Exactly. That's what I imagine Jerry to turn it into.
Yeah, that's kind of where it rests, and that does allow me to get some dark, serious stuff in, and then after you guys solve a murder, Jerry doses an entire village's water supply with like mushroom spores or whatever, or fern spores. Yeah. So
Oh man. Oh, that was great. The audio file, I still have it going. You want me to stop it?
Yeah, I'll stop right now too.
Thanks for listening to the Natural Ones Podcast. You can find us on Twitter at the Nat Ones Cast or on Facebook, facebook.com/the Nat Ones Cast. You can email us, thenat1cast@gmail.com, or find us individually. You can find Aiden at Alakaya A58. You can find Zeki at Zektown, Jerry at JMEE3RD, or myself at Pat Uglo. Thanks for listening, and is that another natural one?